Hey guys. So, Reagan started this autism series since April is Autism Awareness Month. And I'm wearing my Autism Awareness shirt. In April, what does it say? We wear blue. In April, we wear blue. Autism Awareness Month. I think it's also ADHD or ADD, ADHD Awareness Month also, which of course two of my kids have. I wonder when Anxiety Month is, because that's what me and Trey need. So anyway, Reagan started a series. He told y'all a little bit about his journey. I'm going to tell you about my journey with him. And then hopefully next week and the last week of April, we'll continue and maybe fill in any blanks that y'all have if you have any questions. Because I have lots of people that ask me all the time, like, do you think my child's autistic? Do they have any signs of autism? And I'm very blunt. I will say yes or no. Like, no, I don't see any of those signs. I see some signs of some type of deficiency or disorder, but it doesn't seem to be autism. Or I will say definitely they are showing a lot of signs of autism. And I think just from books I've read and the experiences we've dealt with, we're all quirky. So we're all going to be on a spectrum somewhere, but it depends on types of support on whether you're considered autistic. Like how many of these quirks that or characteristics of autism that you have. So I think if you have a lot, then you're going to be put on the spectrum and diagnosed autistic. But if you don't have a lot, or they're not so much so that the public can say, then they say you're not. And I think we all know this, women are better at masking it. And so most people will tell you that I'm autistic, and I've never disagreed. But I'm really good at masking it. But I see what they're saying. Like, I have some of the most number one traits of autism, and I have them. And I'm super picky, and I have sensory issues. And yeah, people just think I'm weird, but I think I'm not weird. I think I'm weird, but like in an autistic way. So, yeah. I've always been like that though. So that's why people think it's autism, because I've always been a super picky person. I won't eat things I would die first. I won't drink things. I've let my kidneys shut down before more than one time because there was not things that I could drink. I'm terrible at going to like our women's conferences and stuff where everybody just drinks water, and I hate water, so I'm gonna die of dehydration. Yeah, I almost did that last Women of Joy, so I was like, somebody please. Like, I don't know why I didn't just take my car, but for some reason I didn't have my car there, and I rode with someone, so I didn't have my car there. So even though I was trying to be calm and say, take me to get something to drink, please, and nobody was really listening, but it's because most people don't understand autism, and they don't understand that I seriously am not going to drink something. I'm not going to drink water until I'm dying. I just can't. I don't know why. Yes, I do. But anyway, so I know that, yeah, I've been a little quirky my whole life and didn't think much of it until so much was going on with Reagan. And I would say by about 10 or 11, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm in our little office, mine and Reagan's little makeshift office. And just to get some peace and quiet so I can make this video. My hair is hideous. I put on all my bracelets, but I don't have very much stuff over here, so I just put on the ones I made that match my shirt. I don't even have any of my autism bracelets over here. I'll get some when I go to the house, but and I'm in my cute little bed. I love this little bed in the office. Got my TV up there. So when Alex starts snoring, then I can come in here. Got my Bible. So, Bible and Mountain Dew and tea. So, I really don't need much else, do I? Bible and Mountain Dew or sweet tea. I usually drink Dr. Pepper or Mountain Dew. But anyway, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. So, the journeys, how it began. So, about 10 or 11, I was just having such a hard time. I had always had a hard time with Reagan, and I felt like I was just, like he would rub me the wrong way, and I would just be, I told many people this, like I'm so much meaner to him than the other kids. Like I have to discipline him more. I get more irritated faster with him. Like I just feel like I'm mean to him. And I hated that because I felt like I was showing like favoritism, but I wasn't. And people like even said that, like, yeah, we see that you're a lot more picky or a little more with Reagan. And I'm like, I know, but it just seems like he aggravates me so much. And I just feel like, why are you doing this on purpose? You know, I've just gotten on to you last week about that or yesterday about that or whatever. And so I couldn't figure it out. I was hysterical all the time. And I had got into this huge fight with him before work. And I was doing the kids club for Gold's Gym. And I was running late. And Trey was the little bitty thing. So I'm trying to get him ready. And I'm trying to get to work. And Reagan and Ryan was, I'd say Reagan was like 11 maybe, so Ryan was like 14. So they were going to stay at the apartment by themselves. I was an activities director for that apartment complex. So we knew everybody in there, so I had no problem with them staying there. And my kids are very responsible and such great kids, so no problem there. And I was a phone call away and maybe 5 or 10 minutes down the road at the gym. And so I was getting ready for work. And Reagan had done something, and I just kept screaming at him about it. I'm like, why don't you look at me? Why don't you answer me? Why are you being like this? And I just felt like he was deliberately disobedient, which in our house, there's 3 reasons you would get a spanking, and that was for lying, for breaking a safety rule, or being deliberately disobedient. And I was like, I don't want to have to spank you. Why can't you just look at me and answer me? But I was getting loud and I was scaring him, and I didn't know at the time that he was shutting down. I thought he was deliberately justifying me. And I was just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm so sick of this. And I just was like, I can't deal with this right now. I need to calm down. I'm going to discipline you in a really bad way if I don't calm down first. And so by this point, I'm crying. I'm just hysterically upset, and I'm crying, and I grab up all my stuff, and me and Trey go to the car. And I don't even know if Trey was with me that day. He might have been at his dad's, because that was back when he was younger and still visited his dad before all that blew up. But I remember going down the car, and I had forgotten something. And we've been screaming back and forth for at least an hour. I couldn't get him to answer me in that whole time. I am just freaking out. I'll never forget that. Like, I cried the whole way down to the van. I realized that I've forgotten something. And I come back up, and Ryan can see I've been crying, and he's like, are you okay, Mom? And I'm like, no, I cannot keep this up. Like, at this point, he should be getting better, but it seems like he's just becoming more defiant and just doing stuff over and over that he knows is aggravating. I don't know why he keeps being like this. And so I walk around the corner back into the room where we were in there, which was my bedroom, where we were fighting, like arguing. And he's sitting in front of a fan going, Luke, you are my father. Like, he's just playing. Like, I'm not crying. Like, we haven't been fighting for an hour. And I was like, there's absolutely something going on here. This can't be normal. This cannot. And because I had never been around any high functioning autistic people, only low functioning autistic people. And I thought that's what autism was, just strictly low functioning. I didn't even know there was a such thing as Asperger's at that time. I never would have considered autism because I didn't know anything about it. And what cases I had even seen were lower functioning and that I had been around for any length of a time. And so I literally did not have a clue that it was autism. I just knew that he was ADHD. And when he was on his medicine for that, oh my gosh, like we didn't have no problems whatsoever. I found out much later after finding out the diagnosis that medicine does help mask a lot of the characteristics of autism, and that they had overlooked his autism because it wasn't so pronounced that you could spot it unless you're running day in day out. But they did notice the ADHD even in the office. Like him and Ryan were so ADHD that like any control environment was torture for me and them because they could not be in a controlled environment. They couldn't sit still. The doctor's office would beg me, like you need to do something. What I refused. Like, I'm not putting them on medicine until they get in school, which was my biggest mistake. I will never ever forgive myself for, because Ryan was tortured basically by a teacher in kindergarten because he was super smart and already knew all this stuff, but he couldn't sit still and he was constantly just driving her crazy. I feel sorry for her now, kind of, but the things that I heard that she did, I don't feel sorry for her. So this necklace is driving me crazy. So, well, I guess I'll fix it later. He ended up regressing, and I had to homeschool him the next year before I could get him on medicine and put him back in school. And then Reagan, we had a episode with one of his teachers when I was having Trey in the hospital and couldn't get Reagan's medicine refilled, and the teacher was like, "Well, I don't believe in medication anyway." I said, "That's fine with me. If you can deal with it, I can deal with it too. You're gonna be that way." So I sent him on. He didn't last 3 days before I had a parent-teachers conference, and she apologized and said, "I cannot teach." He gets up and leaves the room like he just is in his own little world. And when I call him out, I said, like, "Reagan, there's no way you could be through with that test by now." And he's like, "It is. I'm done." And she's like, "There's no way that could be correct." And she checked it, and it was. So she apologized to me and said, "I can see the need for this, so I'm going to go ahead and say I am sorry." And yeah. So they recognized the ADHD, but they didn't see any of the other disorders because it wasn't affecting anybody outside of our house. But the autism was driving me insane because I have an anxiety disorder, and it was setting my anxiety off. And so, hold on. Yes, my autism is showing. I need to fix this. It's driving me crazy. Hold on. Okay, fixed it. It was freaking me out. All right, so they didn't catch the autism, and fast forward back to the time that I'm losing my mind. It's been years of this, and at this point he had went through a stage of repeating what he said back to himself, and that was frustrating. We got to the point where we all just waited after he talked because we knew he was going to repeat back to himself, so we'd wait before we even talked. I mean, it was just annoying. We just thought he was a little weird, and we dealt with it, and I would do things to try to break him from some of these characteristics. Even some of the stems were pretty spot on. If they were like something that would really like make him look bad in public, I'd be like, don't do that. I forgot what some of them were, but some of them drove me crazy. I'm like, nope, can't do that again. I would catch him and I would continue. He did something with his stomach. I can't remember. Now he just hits like the side with his hand when he's stimming. But at that time, I think he did something with his stomach. He can tell you. Um, and I was like, I can't. You can't keep doing that. That's driving me crazy. But over the years, I managed to get him to quit repeat talking. I don't know how I did that. But the other things of like immaturity and just shutting down, not looking at me, answering me, or whatever, like just a bunch of different things. And then no matter what I said or did, like he just wouldn't. The only way I got him to brush his teeth was when Ryan had a lot of root canals and was bleeding and laying around after these surgeries. It scared Reagan so bad that I kind of took advantage of it and said, if you don't take better care of your teeth, then you're going to end up having to be like this. And that was it. Like to this day, Reagan brushes his teeth morning and night. He is, like, we laugh about it. Like he brushes his, and even if he doesn't do it at night, like he don't miss. He don't miss a day. I mean, he's got some good teeth, which he should have some good teeth because I paid for braces and his teeth are pretty. But as far as like brushing his hair, nope. Wearing socks, nope. And so we had went to my brother's for a holiday, and I was just, you know how it is as parents, if you're a mom, that you scream for a kid to get their shoes on like for 30 minutes before you leave, just constantly, over and over. And that was with Reagan, but even more pronounced because I'm screaming for him to brush his hair or for to put socks on. Or like Reagan would just, like, I joked and said he doesn't care what he wears. Like he will wear the same thing over and over as long as it's clean. If you put it back on the top of his basket, he'll wear it over and over. And that's more, that's like probably any man or any guy. And if you buy him clothes for Christmas, he would cry. Like he didn't care about getting dressed. He didn't care what he looked like. I think that he doesn't really care now. The only reason that he does do it now is because he is a man, and he knows there's certain like things, certain ways he can't look a certain way for school or work. So he does kind of think about that a little bit, but not much. Like I have to catch him before he hits church sometimes. And if he gets away from me, that's on whoever. I'm like, I didn't see him before he went out the door, so sorry he looks like that. But it was a holiday and we were at my brother's house, and I said, I was I was ill because I had been screaming at him the whole time for an hour or so before we left. And I was like, I cannot believe you. I can't get you to brush your hair or put on socks. This is ridiculous. Like, I'm so sick of this, like, years of saying over and over. Like, I'm going to get up and close this door. Years of saying, brush your hair, put your socks on. Brush your hair, put your socks on. I was like, just for once, could you just do it? And my brother was trying to kind of take up for him. And he said, I don't know why you're on that boy. Like, he's so smart. Like, he's like a little Einstein. And he, just think about Einstein. Like, you saw pictures of him. Look, he never brushed his hair. And I've read interviews, he didn't even wear socks. And the fact that he didn't brush his hair or wear socks, I was like, And that he was like a little Einstein. Because Reagan was super smart. Like, so smart that when we moved to Chapel Hill, one of the teachers was like, I was always getting parent-teacher conferences, bless him. Like, I will kill you and on many, many, many more things that we went through starting from 5th grade on. But this one, the teacher was like, yeah, he basically said he was smarter than me. And I was like, I talked to Reagan. He didn't say he was smarter than you. He just said for your class, he doesn't even need to take notes. And that's, at that point, that was one of the times I already suspected he was autistic, and he got diagnosed the next year. But I was like, if my suspicions are correct, he is a very literal person, and a very literal person. So he is telling you what he's just answering when you said something to him, he just said, basically, He didn't come out and say, I'm smarter than you. He just said, for your class, I don't need to take notes because he's that smart. But he didn't even say that. So can't get on to him because basically what he's saying was true and he didn't understand why he's in trouble. But anyway, because my brother said that, it just clicked with me. And I went home and I Googled Albert Einstein. And the very first article that I read about him said that people suspect, because of different things, that he had Asperger's. And which is what they called it back then. Now they don't even use the term Asperger's, they just say ASD, which is Autism Spectrum Disorder. But back then we called him an Aspie when he first got diagnosed, because that's what they went by, as you had Asperger's syndrome. And so that's what the article said, that people suspect that Albert Einstein had Asperger's syndrome, AS instead of ASD. I was like, what is that? And I read up on that, and Regan had every trait, and I was just like, what? Like Albert Einstein repeat talked. I think Albert Einstein did it backwards, so I think he would say it to himself and then say it out loud. But Regan would say it out loud and then say it under his breath, I think is how it was. I want to say that it was like the opposite of how Albert Einstein did it. But if you watch The Middle, the TV show The Middle, Brick does it. Brick has all these autistic traits, but they never come out and say he's autistic. That always irks me, because Brick on The Middle and Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory have all the traits. You know they base those characters off on somebody autistic, but yet they won't say it. And it would have been so much better in real life if people had somebody to relate to, because Regan, he related to Sheldon from the very beginning. He even dressed up as him for Halloween one year, and this is before we got his diagnosis, because he could relate to him. But I guess Hollywood doesn't want to portray people with like a neurological disorder, so they just made him quirky and used it for funny, and that's sad. But anyway, Brick does the same repeat talking. But anyway, I'm reading all this about Albert Einstein, and it clicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, Regan's autistic. And apparently he has Asperger's syndrome, so he's on the spectrum, so I'm guessing he's high function. So I began to read everything I could get my hands on high function autism, Asperger's syndrome. And I asked his pediatrician, I'm like, I think Regan has Asperger's syndrome. And she said, no. She's seen him maybe twice a year to do whatever shot needed to be done that year and to like have a physical. Because Regan's never been a sickly kid. He didn't, like his brother had asthma really bad. Regan had allergies really bad. And then Trey had allergies and asthma. So Regan's the only one of my kids that's never been hospitalized. He never really had a need to see the doctor. So unless, you know, he had and he was, even if he was, like if I took the other kids in for strep, the doctor would check him and say, oh, he must have had it, but now he's over it. He just never complained. He never really, to this day, he never complains. Never. That's one of the things I guess goes along with autism. He's very much his own self, and I like have to question if he doesn't feel good or what's going on, or, you know, he doesn't come out and talk a lot about stuff, so he just never was sick, so we didn't go a lot. So here we got a doctor that's never seeing him, and I'm seeing him every day, and I'm telling you, and I'm telling her, like, I think he has Asperger's. And she's like, no, because, like, he communicates well and makes eye contact. And I was like, well, the books say it could be the exact opposite. Instead of not talking to people and not making eye contact, he can make eye contact and talk too much. And unless you're intimidating him and screaming at him, he makes eye contact with you and he talks way too much. Like me. We can start talking and talk way too much. So she's like, yeah, but I don't think he is. It was very obvious way back then that most people didn't know anything about this, so I didn't feel so bad. I'm like, okay, I don't think his doctor even knows anything about this, so I don't feel so bad. So years went by. I was filling out all the paperwork to take him to a place in Alabama called Spark, I think. And then we had a friend whose daughter got diagnosed there, and my friend's like, don't take him there. Like, don't take your dog there. Like, not to be ugly, because I don't know. I didn't do it. But she was not happy with the way they treated her daughter or the process that they went through. So I just like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I don't want to traumatize Reagan with whatever is going on there. And so, I'm trying to get this thing. I didn't bring my stand, so I'm having to hold it with my hand. Oh, my hair's hideous. And so I just kind of stopped doing all the paperwork. But while I'm doing the paperwork, I'm researching. I'm reading every book, reading every online article. Every break I had, I read like some sort of article about it. And not once did I ever change my mind. As a matter of fact, I would just be like, aha, now I see. And we told Reagan's dad, and he was like, that's all in your mom's head. She just wants to explain away things that she don't know how to deal with or whatever. I can't remember what all he said. I do remember him saying that's all in your mom's mind. So, Regan and I knew. Like, even Regan said, there's something wrong here. Like, Mom, I'm lonely. I don't have friends. And the kids make fun of me. And that started in 5th grade, which the books all said it would start about 5th grade. It said that it starts when kids recognize something weird's there. And Reagan would stand too close to other kids when he would talk to them, so they'd call him gay, and it would just really make him sad. And he just didn't have friends, and nobody understood him. And like, he had a complete meltdown at one point before we even moved to Tennessee, and it broke my heart because I'll tell y'all, and I tell you over and over, and I'll tell you the rest of my life, there is no better person than Reagan. He loves people. He wants to live a life of service, and he does. Like, he spends every day trying to figure out what he can do to help others. So it was breaking my heart that this child was so sad. I wanted to just punch people, make them be his friend, and I wanted them to overlook his weirdness. And some of our church friends really helped him. Our church in Alabama, when people were being ugly to him, some of the girls in our church would come and say, leave him alone. Just like he didn't have a diagnosis yet, but we all had talked about it, and we kind of all knew, especially like people at church, like they kind of knew, like, okay, there's something there. And so they would just take up for him, like, leave him alone, and they would take him and include him. And so thank God for our church families, and every church we've been in, they have had Reagan's back, and that's who his family is. It's his church family, and he'll tell you that. Like, this family and his church family. And very few other people have really tried to help him. Family didn't recognize or even listen, and like I said, his dad didn't. And so Reagan will tell you his family is me and Alex, Ryan and Trey, and Ryan and Courtney and Trey, and then his church family. These are people who understand him, understand that he's autistic, that the things he's doing is not trying to be rude. He just doesn't have the social skills. Like, he loves the Lord. He wants to talk to everybody about the Lord. Whether you want to talk to him about the Lord or not, he wants to tell you about the Lord because he worries about your eternity. And so anyway, to jump ahead, because we're going on 30 minutes. So we moved to Tennessee, and I'm thinking, wow, this is great. We're going to be close to Vanderbilt. Maybe one of these doctors here will refer him. We talked to all the doctors that we go to. Nobody will refer him because, he doesn't look autistic, because he makes eye contact and he talks very well. And I try to tell them some of the traits, and they're like, yeah, he's okay. Like, he's just ADHD. Like, and by this point, he's gotten off of his ADD meds because he's going to a little B school, and he's like, I don't need them. And I'm like, well, if you don't need them, you don't have to take them. Like, I always let that be up to my kids, whether they took it or not. Now, if they're getting in trouble every day and almost being suspended, like Ryan did, they would ask, let me go back on my meds because I don't want to be in trouble all the time. And so Reagan, he could do it though. He could do a small little school because by this point he's past puberty, so he's the the hyperactivity is kind of dwindled down, and now he's just ADD. But the schools are small, so he can do it because he's really smart. So he doesn't want to use them, and that's fine. And then he gets accepted to Tribeca. He's like super excited. No. He's going to Columbia State. That's where he went first. And he goes for his starts it, and he immediately starts having anxiety, almost to the point where he was ready to have a mental breakdown. And he doesn't understand, and we were going to therapy after therapy. We're trying to figure out what's going on. Eventually we figure out that the untreated ADHD was causing the anxiety, and once he got back on that medicine, he actually changed so much and started having less anxiety and seemed to concentrate on things, life, studies, all that better. But he knew that he didn't feel right, like that's something was setting him off, and that things just weren't right. And he was like, you suspect it's autism, don't you, Mom? I'm like, I do, babe. I really do. Like, I feel like we know some of the other things. Like, right now, you're struggling with depression, and you're also, because of your ADHD, you're struggling with anxiety. But I really think that there's an underlying thing, and I think it's the autism. And I don't know. And I would cry and cry because I would call people and please refer him, and nobody would refer him. And I was like, what was the point? Like, we were really hoping, since we were moving close to Vanderbilt, that we could get somebody to refer you and you could get some sort of diagnosis and we could find out what's going on. And we still can't do that. So I was just a basket case. But by this point, Regan is a basket case, and he loses it. And he's like, I can't live like this anymore. He was like, I don't want to kill myself, but I've told God that I'm okay if he takes me, that I don't really want to be here anymore. And that broke my heart. And I was like, Regan, please do whatever you have to do to get in, to get a diagnosis, please. And he called Vanderbilt and he told him, I don't want to be alive anymore. I don't want to kill myself, but there's something going on and I'm not getting any treatment for it, and nobody will refer me to y'all, and I really need to be there. I need some diagnosis. My mom suspects it's autism, or at that time, Asperger's. So please, 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 can y'all get me in? And because he was talking about he didn't want to be alive anymore, they immediately said, okay, come in. We'll do a diagnosis. It's going to be a bunch of tests, a bunch. I think we took 10 tests. I took 10 tests as the mom, and I think he took about 20. I don't know if it was that many. It just felt like it was all day and a lot of money. And worth every penny. Like, I don't even remember what we paid, but it was money out the pocket that we didn't have because insurance doesn't pay for those tests. But they called us back in. I don't know, I can't remember. It's been so many years ago now, but they called us back in to tell us the results. And everything that we thought he had, he had. He was high functioning autistic level 1, that he only needed minimal support, and he does. He don't leave him alone with the stove on, because you better call and make sure you cut that off. If he needs to remember something to stay alive, you're in trouble. But yes, I mean, super smart, like so smart, and he's getting his master's now in seminary. And if I have any question about my eternity, I'm going to him. If I have any question about the Bible, I'm going to him, because I mean, literally, he knows his stuff, and he loves the Lord. So this light is like red from this room and makes my face look red, and I swear it's not. I think it's just the light. But anyway, he had autism level 1, which means, yes, has Asperger's syndrome, but needs minimal support. Like, they admitted that he could live alone. And that's what I told him. I was like, you can live alone, but you're going to need to live by me, so I can come over and make sure the stove is cut on, or your wife needs to make sure that when you leave for work or whatever, that you cut the stove off, and anything else that's dangerous, that you make sure you take care of. And he's not great at driving, which most autistic people aren't. So we limit his driving to Chapel Hill area because it's a small town. And he does drive to Spring Hill, but it's kind of a straight shot. He doesn't go into Spring Hill. But anyway, he's not attentive enough, because with the autism and the ADHD, it's bad driving. And I'm a bad driver too, so I'm much better now. But when I was his age, terrible. And now, I mean, I can kind of see it's probably the autism. I'm not very good driver now. Trey makes fun of me. I'm really a bad driver. Like, I just don't back out well, and I don't turn around well. Like, I can drive, but I'm not great at it. Trey's great. Ryan's great. Me and Regan, not much. We're not good at all, really. But yes, they did all of those. I think he had anxiety, depression, ADHD, autism, intrusive thoughts, and I want to say OCD, but I can't remember. I'd have to ask Reagan. I have OCPD, and it sets my anxiety off. So I always called it OCD, because I knew that was one of my main problems, and I never really got diagnosed, but I knew that I had it. But Reagan now has informed me that I do have what I keep saying is OCD, but he says that I have OCPD. So I don't have an actual legit diagnosis, but Reagan will tell you that I'm obsessive about certain things. I mean, bad obsessive. But he says that I'm OCPD. I don't know the difference, but I might need to research that. But that's kind of part of our journey. He finally got diagnosed. Most years we kind of celebrate that day. I can't remember. Usually Facebook memories will come back and tell me, and I'll be like, Reagan, it's your day, because we celebrated that day that his diagnosis came in like you have never, ever seen people celebrate. There was crying, there was laughter. I said, Reagan, I've never been so excited to know my child has autism. But it was just to know that we weren't crazy, that he was going to be okay, and we were going to learn how to cope with this, and that we would have the support from others that we needed. People would not judge him the way they were doing. Like, they would know that he wasn't weird or rude, that he was just stating facts, and he still to this day doesn't understand why people don't just say what they think. Like, why do they have to lie? Or say, you say, hey, do you look good today? And Reagan will say yes or no. He doesn't say, oh yeah, you look good. He'll even get on me like, why did you say they look good? They don't look good today. They look sickly. They look whatever. He'll tell you. Like, I don't understand why people don't just I don't understand why neurotypical people don't just state the truth like we do. So, it's tough. It's tough being the mom of an autistic person, especially if you suspect you have autism too. It's really tough to see how people treat him. It's really tough to see what he goes through. And it's so encouraging to see how he deals with it, though. And I just say this all the time, and I'll never stop saying it. Like, seriously, the people that don't treat him right, I feel bad for them. especially if they're children of God. I can't imagine how much God has that man's back. Like, this is a man who devotes his entire life to the Lord, so I wouldn't mess with him. And I wish others wouldn't either. I wish everybody would love him the way that I do. But there are some that do see what I see. And then there's some that still just think he's rude or weird, but he is not. He is amazing. He is like the face of autism. And he's like the face of Jesus too. He's just the sweetest. So that's just kind of a little bit about my journey as an autism mom. And yeah, so I love April. It's Autism Awareness Month. I hope everyone becomes more aware of it, learns how to deal with it. Don't shelter your kids from it. If your child is autistic, tell them. Help them to learn as you learn about it. If they're really young, they're not going to understand what it means, but just get them used to it so that they can explain to others, so that they do know eventually, like, know what it is and know that, hey, I'm not weird. This is just part of my autism. And then read some books, especially if you have a child who has autism. Read everything you can get your hands on, because a lot of things they're dealing with may stem from the autism. And a lot of things you're seeing may just be a stem. A lot of things you're seeing may be a quirk of autism. Learn about it. And don't be embarrassed if you think your child has autism. Please don't pretend like they don't, because you're going to be embarrassed. I think that bothers Reagan the most is because some people wouldn't admit that he has autism when we could really see it. In the end, when we learned about autism and knew what autism was, Reagan would be the first one to tell you, I'm autistic. Like, I would be the first one to tell you he's autistic. Like, and it wasn't something we wanted him to be. I wish I could have said, oh, he's not. No, he's not. And put it under the rug. But we could clearly see from the definition of autism that he was autistic. We didn't want to be blind. We wanted to face it head on and get help and have people understand with us. And if we needed to teach them, we would. But there are so many people who are embarrassed, like, oh, my kid's autistic. And they don't admit it, and they don't tell people about it. And they try to hide it, and they never either tell their kid about it, they never tell their children about it until they're like, oh, when they're older, we'll tell them. No. Help them from the young age up. Help them to realize that they are different, but in a good way. So don't hide it from them. Really help them learn as they're growing up what it's about, how to deal with it, all of that. So that's our story for today or this week in this autism series. I hope that helps a little bit. I hope if you have an autistic child or a friend or relative or whatever, that you feel free to contact us. Leave comments below. Whatever you need, we're here. We would love to support you in any way we can. And so we love you. Comment below if you need us. Subscribe. Share. Try to help others, especially autistic people. But we love you guys, and thank you for being our community. And I'm so excited that there is an awareness month for this disorder, this neurological disorder. There's so many people affected by this now. So it's so nice to be part of a community of people that are becoming more aware and aware every day. So come be a part of our community. Grow with us. We'll help each other get through the loneliness, the bullying, all of it. But I love you, and y'all have a great day. Bye.